Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review this new comedy, You Hurt My Feelings, and this is from A24 and writer-director Nicole Holofcener, who has done work like Enough Said, starring James Gandolfini and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and has worked on a lot of television and even co-wrote The Last Duel. And she brings this story to life of Beth, who's a pretty well-respected writer who's trying to release her first fiction novel, and overhears her husband, played by Tobias Menzies, Don, make some comments about not liking it and the uncomfortableness that causes their relationship. Now, what's interesting about this story is, that's a decent chunk into the movie. This film is really about relationships. Long-term marital relationships. You have Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who plays Beth, and Menzies, who plays Don, and they have such a loving and interesting dynamic with each other, very supportive. It causes some weird tension with their son, played by Owen Teague, because do they love each other more than they love him? At least that's what he's thinking in his head, because they're such an inseparable couple. And you also have her sister, played by Michaela Watkins, Sarah, who's married to Mark, Arian Moade, and their dynamic where Mark is a failing actor and Sarah is a frustrated interior decorator. And you see each of these characters struggling with their professions. Beth really trying to get this next book off. Don, who we spend a lot of time with him as a therapist. And you get to see Amber Tamlyn and David Cross as this really toxic married couple, and Zach Cherry as this young man who just doesn't really want to put in effort. And you have all these dynamics. You see Don struggling with his job, Beth struggling, Sarah and Mark struggling. We see them struggling with their work and trying to navigate those kinds of things in a very relatable way. We see their marriages go through ebb and flows, and obviously the big crux is the overhearing of lack of support that opens up this idea of, is it worth being brutally honest if it means crushing the progress that somebody you love is trying to make? And do you have a little white lie to encourage them and to support them? And this is a very interesting look at long-term relationships, and it's not like the sugar-coated, smoothed out, easy look that you might find in a film. It's complicated. It looks at different layers and different perspectives in this situation, and I have to say, this cast is fantastic. Even Cross and Tamlyn and Cherry, they give great supporting performances, but Louis-Dreyfus, Menzies, Watkins, and Moade, they're just so good. They all really embody their characters and develop them and add layers, and they have very specific personalities, each of them, and their performances embody them. And everybody has very relatable moments, and they're so interesting to connect with. And this film is funny. Legitimately funny. I laughed a lot watching this. It's been a good week of press screenings with some really funny movies that I've gotten a chance to see. And this is definitely the most mature and least, outwardly, ha 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 ha. It comes out of awkwardness. It comes out of relatability. You laugh nervously because you're like, oh my god, I've been there. And it works so well. Holofcener creates such a relatable and engaging film that hits on so many different levels, from long-term relationships to parental relationships with their kids, to sisters, to best friends, to everybody, therapist and patient, interior decorator and client, agent and writer, and just everything in between. This is such an interesting and layered look at relationships and dynamics and the way that we interact with each other. And it's funny, it's emotional, and yeah, there's some moments where it feels like it cleans up pretty easy. And it's a little brisk. It's only an hour and 33-minute film. But it comes, it goes, well-paced, really engaging, very funny, and it does what it needs to do. And it really captures you, especially with such a talented cast. But those are my thoughts. on You Hurt My Feelings. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.